Ashtavakragita, chapter 2, verse 19. I am now convinced that the whole universe, including this body, is without substance, and that what I am is pure consciousness. So, what basis can conceptualization now have? Pure consciousness is who I am, and with this certainty, how can other concepts of universe or body exist? It has been told in many of the previous verses that I am pure consciousness. But let us see to whom the sage is referring to when he is saying, I am now convinced that the whole universe, including this body, is without substance and I am pure consciousness. In case, if you would like to listen to previous verses, I have added the playlist link in the description, which consists of all the verses. Let's try to understand what the sage is saying here and how it is applicable to our life. The sage is saying this with reference to ego. The sage is talking to our ego and saying to check for whom the certainty of the universe and body exists. These verses are little subtle. When the sage is talking to our ego, it's not just the ego, I am showing ego, or because of the ego, I am talking to someone else. It's not that ego. Our identity itself is the ego, what the sage is referring to. These verses are that subtle. When the sage says ego, it is not only because of the ego that I talk to, with ego how I talk to, not just that. It is the ego which takes birth when we take birth. Let's go a little deeper with this verse. And for that, let's check with this enquiry and start with it. Who needs this body and all the concepts of the universe? It's for the ego where all of these are needed for it to claim its existence. That's the reason the ego is having immense trust on these concepts. And what is ego? The one which itself feels that it exists and captures all the illusion for it to exist, and then feel that it's true. Let's see with an example on what we have spoken about till now, how it looks like. Because if we try to prove this, who can prove your ego? It's we ourselves, right? Like no one else can prove our ego. Like say, we have a logic or assumption that this is how it is. whom is this logic or assumption is true? It's only for us, it's only for the ego. And this can only be proved by ego. The truth doesn't need the proof. Only the illusion or the false needs the proof. That's the reason the sages call it as illusion. Say we have a logic that some person does something because of some reason. That might not be true at all, but it's our strong reasoning which makes us think that it's true. If we check all of it, all of this conditioning, it's all pure concepts. And if we decipher all of them and inquire on all of them, it would all be based on some or the other illusion. And this loop of illusion and false can be broken only through thorough inquiry. This is spirituality. This path to truth, while breaking of all these concepts, is what the sages calling as spirituality. The reason why sage is saying this is to let us free from the suffering. Only these concepts that our identity has acquired is something that can cause us pain and let us suffer. These concepts are responsible for attachment and bondage. Check if the concepts are real. See your original nature and deny all others which are illusions. When we deny all the falseness is where the God exists. That's one of the reasons why truth needs to be made as an habit. Else the conditioning of the false will easily attract us to its field. That's why there are repetitions of verses. That's why the sage is repeating the same thing in different ways for us to break this bondage. This breaking of false conditioning is love. We need to have love for this. We should become residents of truth, and that is where the bliss is.